Okay, tool presets. So this is tool presets are a way to capture the settings of your most used tools. Let's say that you use the crop tool and you always crop to 500 by 300. Well, you can save that and just with one click you can pick up the crop tool and have it set to 500 by 300. Or you can have a certain brush size or brush shape, which is what I'm going to show you how to do right now. So being an artist, a lot of artists will have a file of their signature and they want to just drop that into every piece they do, and at some point they may have scanned it in or they may have even just drawn it right into Photoshop, but you still got to go get that every time. So I have my signature over here in this file, so that means every time I want to put my signature in I have to go find that file, load it up, grab it, and drag it in there, which can get annoying, especially when all you want to do is just pop it in and be done with it. You got to go hunting for the signature file. So I'm going to show you the way to make a tool preset out of a signature, and you can apply this to other things as well. But the first thing I want to do, so I've got this on a layer. Yours may be on white. If you have a signature or something similar, you have to decide where it's going to go. I mean, mine is going to need to be on top of other things, so I really can't have a white box around it. So I have mine separated on its own layer, and I'm going to command click on this layer, and I've got it selected. Otherwise you could draw a marquee around it too. So what I'm going to do here, since I got it selected, it's time to make a brush out of this, and the steps are, I'm going to get my image, get my thing that I want to make into a brush, select it, and I'm going to define a brush preset by going under the edit menu. So define brush preset. Now as you can see, I have a chance to name it, so I'm going to call it JG Sig 2, because I think I got one in there already, obviously. And so over here on the side, pay attention to this, 1899 pixels wide. That's how big that is. Seems kind of big, but I like to have that come in big when I plop it in there, when I stamp it in, not just reduce from there. It's better than having it come in too small. So you want it to be kind of big if possible. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK, and I'm going to go back to this file now. So when I click my brush tool, it's usually going to be all the way down at the bottom of your brushes. So this is the very last one that was created, all the way down at the bottom, and your brushes are usually up in your control palette. When you click the pencil tool or the brush tool, up here in the control palette is where you're going to choose those brushes. So I'm going to scroll all the way down again. Here's my latest one that I did, and alright, I've got the shape of my signature here, and some of you may not have this. You may not have it, and that's probably, if you don't have it, you've probably got your cursors set to standard or some other thing. Like if I have a standard, well, it's just showing me the pencil. It's not showing me the actual thing that I'm going to use. So, and there it is, but that's why I prefer to set it to full brush size tip. And now I can see exactly what it is that I'm going to be drawing with. So now I've got a brush for this, but still every time that I want to use this, I'm going to have to select the brush or the pencil tool and select my brush. If I got another brush in there, I'm going to have to go find that again. So I don't want to do that. So that's where tool presets come in. Over here is my tool preset palette, and if you don't have that open, if it's not visible right now, you have to go under Window, go down to Tool Presets, and it will pop up. So the key here is to have it already all set the way you want. This is what I want. So then I'm going to click the new tool preset button, and I have a chance to name it. Again, it's telling me this is going to be your pencil tool, and this is the brush you're using, and it's naming it number 1. If I have include color checked, that means that since this is black, it's always going to be black. Every time I use that preset, it's going to be black. If I uncheck it, then whatever color I happen to have picked at the time is what color it's going to draw or paint with. So I'm going to click OK. I'm going to just leave it as black because I want it to always be black. And so as you can see, I've got this selected. It doesn't seem like anything's changed, but I'm going to click over to some other tools here. Now I've got my pencil default, and so there's that. That's not my signature. You know, this is taking me to a crop tool. If I click back on my pencil tool that I just made, well, I'm back. You know, and that's going to be in every file that I have. Every file, not this one, any other file. I can always go back to my tool preset and pick that, and I can put it in there. But what I would do is, you can see I'm on a layer that the sword is on. I don't want to do that, so you know, I'll just put it on a new layer. Press the V key for the move tool. Command T is going to get me my free transform. Option Shift, holding down Option and Shift, dragging inward. I'm going to be able to scale from the center, which is what I want. Okay, let's drag this over here. You know, it's kind of extreme there, but oh well. Drag that over, and I'll just change the opacity. And you can change the opacity by pressing the number keys in the top row. If you're on your layer, you can change the opacity that way. As you can see, in the 5 key, up and down the opacity, hitting 0 back to 100. And the same thing if I'm in my brush tool, pressing those number keys is going to change the opacity of my brush. A couple extra thrown in there, a couple freebies for you. Anyway, so that's a cool way to get my signature in there all the time, and you can do that with every tool. If you find yourself changing the settings on the tool all the time, well, you can make a tool preset of it. And similar to actions, if I want to make sure I don't lose these, I can go to my flyout menu here, and then I can save the tool presets. And you can see I've got one here. It takes you to where they're supposed to go. I can save them in case I have a crash, or in case I update or move to a new machine. I can make sure those go along with me and just keep them in a safe place, so I always have them. Because once you get used to them and then you have to start making those settings over again, it can get pretty annoying and pretty frustrating. So hopefully that shows you a couple of cool things about the tool preset. And just ask me if you have any questions. Just let me know. But so that should be the tip for that. Okay, I want to talk about the history palette and the history feature of Photoshop. Normally, it's kind of well known that Photoshop has one undo. Technically, there's only one undo. So if I were to take my brush tool and I would just start drawing on here, well, once I hit undo, I've only undid the one. I can't go back any further. If I go here, I don't have any more undos. So it's like, oh crap, I'm screwed, unless you use the history palette. So if your history palette is not available, go under Window, go down to History, open that up. In the history palette, it kind of just records your actions and takes note of your actions that you do, just, you know, as you're working on the file. And so you can always have a record of what's going on there. Now, what happens is if you click above an item in the history, then everything below it is erased. It never happened. So that last pencil stroke and the gradient didn't happen. Now I'll get rid of that. And up here at the top, you'll have what's called a snapshot. And that is the state of the file when it was opened. So I can click on this and get back to normal. And even here I can take more snapshots as time goes on. So if you're worried, you can go through, you can keep editing. Oh, I'm going to take a snapshot at this point, and you can do that down here. Let's say if I go here and then I take a snapshot. Now I've got snapshot 2. Go back to there, and I can click between them. And if I need to revert, I can use those snapshots. Now, another thing to be wary of is that when you have a lot of snapshots and a lot of history, that is being stored on your hard drive, and it's taking up space, and it does affect performance, you know, RAM-wise and space-wise, to have a lot of history states. I think the default is 20. I can't remember now, but you check in the preferences and you go to performance, and over here on the right will be history and cache. And I used to have mine at 100, but it was just overkill, and I think I set this to 50. I'm pretty sure it comes in at 20 at first. I don't really mess with the, the cache levels, but mine is at 50, so that means this thing is going to record 50 states, and then when I keep going past there, the earlier ones will be deleted. So I will lose some ability to go back to certain points, unless I'm really on the ball with my snapshots, or saving the file at a certain point, doing save ases and such. So really, if I do a bunch of painting a bunch of crap I don't like, I've done a bunch now. I've only got one undo, so only that last one is there. So if I look up here, step backward, Command Option Z is going to step backward in the history. So Command Option Z, you can see it's going back upward. You can get one Command Z, one Command Option Z, keep going Command Option Z, and keep going back. Kind of like Illustrator has like a zillion undos. This will give you as many as you've got in your history. So it's a lifesaver. If your machine can handle it, crank that baby up to about 50 or so. If you're really worried, crank it up to 100 if your machine if you can deal with that, if you can deal with the performance hit. Some people with monster machines can probably deal with that. Luckily, I don't have to go that far anymore. I mean, back in the days I did, but now the history is it is a lifesaver. Every once in a while you have to jump back and, oh crap, what did I do there? And it might be good if you don't really know how you got to a certain point. You're like, wait a minute, let me just go back. Okay, that's where I did that. It really helps out. So again, be aware that that's there. You're not stuck with just one undo, and you can really save save yourself a lot of trouble and spare yourself an apocalypse, a file apocalypse sometimes by jumping back in the history. Now when you save the file and you close it, that's it. It doesn't save it past there. So be aware of that. But aside from that, it's a very good feature, very awesome feature that they put in there. There's only the one trade-off for performance. But aside from that, that should be the tip for history. If you have any questions, just let me know.